How do you think it got this tight?
Because it's a changing country. The demographics are changing. It's not a traditional America anymore. And there are 50% of the voting public who want stuff.
Welcome back to The Ed Show. Republicans like Bill O'Reilly are whining about the death of what they call traditional America. O'Reilly claims that these are signs that America, you know what, has just fallen apart. Fewer people go to church regularly. More babies are born to unmarried minorities. Women get abortions on demand. And 2 states legalize recreational use for marijuana. O'Reilly says Americans voted for a man who won't be good for the country. He thinks voters just didn't understand the issues.
Secularism is certainly eroding traditional power. No question about it. The SPs, they don't care about addiction. They don't want limitations on so-called private behavior. No judgments. Want to smoke drugs? Fine. Want to abort a fetus? We'll drive you to the clinic. Want to have a kid when you're 16? No problem at all. We'll support you. I believe the majority of Americans can be persuaded that the far left is a dangerous outfit, bent on destroying traditional America and replacing it with a social free-fire zone that drives dependency and poverty.
All right, folks, give you a chance to consume that. If this sounds familiar, doggone it, it is. Republicans like O'Reilly have been trying to sell this same traditional America message for decades.
Don't look now, young man, but somebody has his hand in your pocket. It's the hand of big government.
I ask you to join me in helping restore the individual freedoms and initiatives this nation once knew.
Goldwater, Nixon, Reagan, Bush, McCain, and Romney complained about big government, complained an awful lot about big government, but they supported laws against abortion, marriage, and pot. It looks like Republicans still haven't learned what real American values are after all. Let's bring in Joan Walsh tonight, editor-at-large for Salon.com and author of the book, What's the Matter with White People? And Michael Eric Dyson, professor with us tonight, MSNBC political analyst and professor of sociology at Georgetown University. Professor, you first. What are traditional American values? Pretty generic question, but certainly pinpointing the answer was the mayor of cable.
Well, no doubt about it. Look, I heard once a definition that tradition is the living faith of dead men and women, and the traditional is the dead faith of living men and women. And since O'Reilly said traditional, it's the dead faith of living men and women. Look, this hearkening back to an earlier epoch, this golden era, is really predicated upon the desire to control the present by projecting a past that never was what they claimed it was. When Father knew best and American white men were at the helm of American society in television and beyond, women were being abused, the silencing of minorities was present, and the repression of all other values except Victorian ones went apace with the kind of extraordinary inability of America to recognize freedom for everybody. So for me, tradition is democracy, freedom, justice, equality, and the ability to project the best of the American spirit to the world. I believe in American traditions, just not the ones that Bill O'Reilly wants to celebrate.
Joan, in your book, you say Ronald Reagan lied about poverty so he could succeed politically. You wrote middle-class folks didn't have to worry that they were indulging resentment, perhaps even racism by opposing poverty programs. They were doing it because those programs hurt poor people. Reagan said so. Do the Republicans still believe this message?
I don't know if they really believe it. I don't know if they care. They don't care about the poor, but they've been selling it for a long time, Ed. And I'm with Michael. You know, he is looking backwards to an America that never was as wonderful as he thinks. And he's becoming kind of like a Glenn Beck figure. He's really not leaving it alone. When he went here on election night, I thought, well, maybe he'll get over it. But the majority of Americans who voted for Barack Obama. We have values. A majority of Catholics voted for President Obama. Vast majority of Jews voted for President Obama. He has a problem with white Protestant Southern evangelical people, but he doesn't have, it's not that his whole coalition is secular. We have values too.
And Professor, how can we not come to the conclusion that Bill O'Reilly thinks that diversity is the root of all evil in America after listening to that?
Well, it's hard not to conclude that, because what is happening here is a kind of retrenchment, a kind of panic, a kind of politics of panic and fear. That, look, it's not what we believed it to be. It's not how we believed it to be. It's not the kind of society we believed in, because we don't see ourselves reflected in the broader society. So it's a matter of trust. We don't trust these people. We don't know who Barack Obama is. They've spent the last 4 years trying to define Obama outside of the arc of American identity. They've tried to define African American people, Latinos, women, gay, lesbian, transgender, and bisexual people outside of the arc of America. But guess what? After 2050, the majority of America will not be white. The majority of America will be diverse, and not only racially, but a diversity and plurality of ideologies and opinions and beliefs and ideas about what makes America great. You do not, Bill O'Reilly, have a copyright on what it means to be an American. What it means to be an American is to be skeptical of those who claim that their variety of patriotism is the only route to redemption for America. I say open the doors, bring us your teeming masses, and allow the great ideals of the world to nourish what an American identity is.
Joan, how insulting is it to voters that decided to vote for President Obama on Election Day?
Well, it's deeply insulting. He's saying that we want stuff, that we're dependent, that we're lazy. But the fact is, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, conservatives used to say to liberals, America, love it or leave it. I always thought that that was kind of a closed-minded, anti-patriotic thing. But I want to say to them, America, love it or be left behind. You don't love America. If you can't embrace this change, you're going to be a very sad, grumpy old man, and you're going to turn out like Bill O'Reilly, and that's not pretty.
Joan Walsh, Michael Eric Dyson, great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now that the election is over, Donald Trump has found yet a new target. I'll show you who it is next. Stay with us.